school. One student of mine was sitting outside very despondent. It's a shame he was my student. Because even after taking my course, he was sitting so despondent. So something must be wrong with me or my teaching. I asked him, what's wrong? He said, I had my campus interviews today. I said, so you must be one of the top students. What happened? I was only offered 15 lakhs, sir. The fellow, it actually happened. He was actually despondent. He's despondent that his metric of life has been shattered because he's only offered 15 lakhs. Is this the way we measure our lives? I was telling my young friends today, there's one book I want every management graduate to read. Good friend of mine, he's written a book, Clayton Christensen, maybe you would have heard his name, from the Harvard Business School. Read his book, How to Measure Your Life. Very nice small book, that's all. Just read it. I'm sure sensitive people will be transformed. I'm underlining sensitive people. Because India is going through a transitional journey, we are only sensitive to economic growth, only GDP growth. And those of you who believe GDP growth is more important, go read another report by a great economist, 3 economists. Amartya Sen, Joseph Stiglitz, both of them were given the Nobel Prizes. They should have been given the Nobel Prize for this report, but they got it before that. And the third was Jean-Jean Pathos. The 3 of them were commissioned by the French president, Nicolas Sarkozy. That man is known for doing some good things beyond humanizing also. He commissioned this report and asked these economists to tell him what could measure human progress. And they didn't tell him what measures human progress. They very categorically told him what will not measure human progress. They told him GDP is the most flawed instrument to measure human progress, societal progress, country's progress. And the report is titled Mismeasuring Our Lives. Read that also. Because only when you read these great books, you'll understand the trajectory this country is taking, the mistake we are all doing. We think economic growth will solve our problems. If it is 5% today, make it 8% tomorrow. Make in India will solve our problems. Make in India will not solve our problems. Make Indians will solve our problems. Let's make Indians now. That is the socio-cultural DNA we need to have. That's what our Vedanta said. That's what everything said. Compassion is what is taught in the Gurukulas. The next quality to build human capital. I may exceed a little time. I have the permission to keep you seated. And I hope I'll keep it interesting enough. Because I promised one of your colleagues, they came and asked me, do you have a PowerPoint presentation? This is a disease in business schools, PowerPoint. So I told your faculty colleague, I hope to make a powerful point, not a PowerPoint. And I hope I'm making it powerful enough. At least your clapping suggests that I'm still on the right track. So second quality is faith and hope, they said. Faith in yourselves. Vivekananda said it so beautiful. You may have faith in the 33,000 crore gods that Hinduism has created. But if you have no faith in yourself, he said, you will be a failure. Look at what Vivekananda said, look at what our values, Indian values said, and look at what the research says. But we will believe this research. After all, Vivekananda is a sannyasi, what does he know? And if you quote his name, you will say saffronizing India today. That's a big problem. We'll have to be careful what we say, we'll have to be politically correct also. To me, I don't care what the color is, it's India for me, and that's what matters. Whether you paint it green, red, black, or white, I care a damn. But live it, that's all I want you to do. Live these values, it doesn't matter where they come from. Which religion teaches that? Every religion teaches that. I don't think any religion in the world says don't have compassion. I don't even think so. I think Christianity teaches that. Love your neighbors. Compassion and faith and hope is the second thing. Hope the future will be better. Every one of you sitting here should believe that we'll create a great India. The future will be better. My children will have a great India. That is the hope you need to have. Conviction and the power of goodness is what Vivekananda said. And that is the quality we need to have. That is not taught in our schools and colleges and universities. That is what we need to come back. The third is spirit of positivism. From the time you are born, your parents tell you, you can't do it, you can't do it. Please, please, don't cross the road, you will get hit. Don't climb the tree, you will fall down. What nonsense. You are great people. Vivekananda said, how do you call a saint a sinner? Each one is great. Each soul is potentially divine. You're born as a man to manifest this divinity, and that is the only religion he said is religion. Not the religion that we have created today, dividing ourselves over a temple, a mosque, a masjid, breaking down each other's place of worship. The true worship is worship of the divinity in man. That's a quality only Hinduism spoke about, Vedanta spoke about, Indianism spoke about. We gave it a name called religion later. Religion is just the opportunity to discover your true self, your inner self. Spirit of positivism is what we need. The Rig Veda says, let only noble thoughts come to me from all sides. Only positive thoughts. Today, my friends, we have research showing, very, very deep research has taken place. Vivekananda writes in a place, he says, when you get up in the morning, if you're sulking, if you're angry, don't leave the room, he says. Sit in a corner, keep your anger to yourself. Because when you come out, you may give it to others. When I read it, I thought Vivekananda must be foolish. How can you give anger to others? Today, my friends, is huge research in neuroscience. We can classify people into two kinds. One is called the positive emotional activators. The second are called negative emotional activators. This is called the emotional contagion. Like diseases, like giving viruses, we can give emotions to others. A great Indian, Professor Villayanur Ramachandran, University of San Diego in US, a physician from Chennai. India normally recognizes great people after they get the Nobel Prize. But this man, they gave the Padma Bhushan 2-3 years ago. Because Padma Bhushans are bought and sold. That man actually got it. He got it because he discovered what is called mirroring neurons. He discovered the plasticity of the human brain. I was trained as a doctor to believe human brain, the cells once born will die, it can never be produced again. But today we have evidence to show neurons can be grown, neurons grow. You can rewire your brains, and that is why you can all become great. I don't for a minute believe any of you has got less greatness than anybody else. But you have to believe you have the greatness within you. You got to rewire yourself with that spirit of positivism. And he discovered, if I'm angry in my classroom, my students will feel anger because they'll start mirroring me. That mirroring neurons gets fired. We can actually scan and prove it. And the worst part is, an average man today, especially an young man, gets 100 to 120 negative emotions per day. I ring up my friend on the cell phone, he doesn't pick it up, I get angry. I am talking to a friend and that fellow calls me, he keeps calling me, I get angry. When I am calling him, he has to pick it up immediately, but when he calls me, can't he wait? How many times is he disturbing me? I get angry for that. I cross the road, somebody horns, I get angry. My teacher comes 2 minutes late, I get angry. My teacher goes 2 minutes late, I get angry. The idli is bigger than what it looks it is, I get angry. It is smaller, I get angry. Just track yourself, keep a logbook, my friends. That is what destroys human capital. Negative emotions are destroying you because every time a small little thought, a germ of a thought comes in your mind negatively, you produce cortisol. Every time the little bit of cortisol is produced, your body goes enormous changes. Every time a positive thought comes in you, you produce adrenaline and oxytocin, which is very good for your body. Depending on whether it's a negative or a positive thought, you stimulate the parasympathetic system or the sympathetic system, and your body gets controlled by it. You don't even realize it. You're actually destroying yourselves by negative thoughts. Your life becomes shorter, your memory goes away faster, you become less productive. These are all proved by research. If I were to talk your language, IBM ran a program to build all this. I'm talking about the human and social capital. In 3 years, productivity went up for those people in comparison to the control group within IBM by 17%. In 5 years, it went up 33%. So it actually makes sense to have fun, play, relax, sleep. Not, Professor Natarajan told me some students work till 4, 6 in the morning. I'm actually sorry. Go to bed at 10 and get up at 4, maybe you will do better. An average human being needs 7.22 hours of sleep to rejuvenate his brain. And you know why? As long as your brain is working, it produces something called amyloids. It's a toxin. Science is telling me, I'm not telling you. Science is telling you that. And when you sleep, your neurons shrink. And when the neurons shrink, your intercellular spaces increase. And when they increase, the amyloids gets washed away and you become fresh. The more the amyloids that you retain, the less you remember, the faster you develop senile dementia and Alzheimer's and all that. Do you want to forget what you learned 30 years from today? Then don't sleep. Fine. If you want to be productive human capital, take care of your bodies. So every negative thought to be neutralized, remember, one negative thought and the effect of the negative thought to be neutralized requires 6 positive thoughts. Oh my God. How many positive thoughts you think per day? You calculate, it will be hardly 10 to 12. So we got to reverse the equation now. Reduce the negative thoughts, increase the positive thoughts. The fourth thing they found out among successful people, and all these factors improve the prefrontal cortex. They discovered that. The fourth was ability to laugh. They said, they describe it beautifully in the research paper. They say sense of playfulness. We have stopped being playful. If a student laughs in my class, what the fellow, why are you laughing? You say? So my colleagues here, my academic colleagues must realize, laugh. Laugh at yourselves. Laugh at your students. Laugh with your students. You'll make the world a better place that way. Humor, sense of humor. Somebody told Vivekananda, you're a sannyasi, how can you laugh? Vivekananda said, sannyasa means giving up. We never give up our emotions though. We keep our emotions. We laugh, we cry. We are not dead wood. My friends, stop being dead wood. Laugh, enjoy life. Enjoyment is not drugs and alcohol. Enjoyment is the ability to laugh with your friends at a good joke. Yesterday I saw a nice joke which came to me on the cell phone. I normally don't see it, but nowadays some clean jokes are enjoyable. It actually makes your life easy. The joke was very nice. Somebody said, it's a political joke, but I have no problem repeating it because it came on my cell phone. It said, Rahul Gandhi has hit upon a great idea. He's found a person to stand against Kiran Bedi, and the bracket said KB. He's found an MB to stand against KB. He's found Mandira Bedi to stand against Kiran Bedi. Because his advisors told him 1 MB is 1024 KB, you will have to win the election. I thought, my God, see, whether Kiran Bedi wins or Mandira Bedi wins, it's not going to make my life better. I don't care. At least one is good looking, other is not. But 1024 MB was great. I thought, great joke. And we can laugh at life. And the last, the most important, I kept it for the last, which no school teaches you, which I would urge every young Indian to do, to build your human capital. Because if you don't build human capital, what kind of social capital are you going to create? Because social capital is an extraordinary network of individuals, institutions, processes that keep society together. That's exactly what we are dividing in the name of religion, caste, and all this nonsense that India has created for itself. That is the filth we need to throw away. The last is a sense of mindfulness, a constant observation of how I think, how I feel, and how I act. And that you can learn only by the practice of meditation, my friends. So how do you build human capital? Just three, four things to do to your human capital. Build your body. Vivekananda said you'll be closer to God on a football field than with a copy of the Gita. Because we all only keep copies of Gita. We don't read it. It's very safely with us. How many of you have read the Indian Constitution? Honestly answer. And then we celebrate Republic Day. What a shame. Right? Every young Indian has to read the Indian Constitution. That is the most powerful human document you can see, a document of social re-engineering. If you can really build your human capital and follow your life as per the Indian Constitution, if that can become the Gita of your life, the Bible of your life, the Quran of your lives, will create an extraordinary social capital for this country. That is the greatest contribution our founding fathers have done to us. They gave us the Indian government, they gave us the Indian politicians, but they also gave us something extraordinary, the Indian Constitution. Please read that. Don't just celebrate Republic Day by flying a flag. Go back today itself and Google. At least read the preamble to the Indian Constitution, then you'll understand what social capital I'm talking about. So take care of your bodies. Exercise at least half an hour a day. Last month, Harvard Medical School has published half an hour of yoga every alternate day is possibly the best exercise you can give to the human body. If Harvard says it, we'll follow. If I say it, you will say he's a romanticist. What does he know? My friends, yoga is the greatest gift India has given to mankind. And now we have to have so many years to get the International Yoga Day. What point is having an International Yoga Day if you don't make every day a yoga day for yourselves? How many of you even practice yoga, tell me? And I am not talking again emotionally. The medical benefits, his extraordinary intellectual benefits, the emotional benefits of yoga is published last month by Harvard. Please read it. If anybody is interested, email me, I'll send you the paper. Not only that, look at what you eat. We don't even see what we eat. We have no time for that. We're all busy. We are more worried whether the lettuce is there between the burger, in the burger bun, but we're not worried that the burger bun itself is poison. 80% of the food on your plate is poison, my friends, today. Understand that. What you put inside is what you become. And you're putting in junk. and junk is what you'll become. That is not the human capital we want. Exercise, rest, sleep is the best rest you can give. Give yourself 7.22 hours of sleep. As a student, you know what is the first thing you sacrifice? Tomorrow paper you have to, I myself tell I drive my students crazy. 10,000 word essay in 7 days, I say. Without realizing there are 10 other professors saying the same thing to them. Which means you're all not sleeping at all. Technically, if you had to write all those essays, none of you have slept. But you guys sleep, you have fun, you go to movies, you drink, you do everything. But still, how do you write your papers? Download something, that's enough. Change a comma here, a full stop there, and anyway this professor doesn't have the time to turn it in. So, he'll grade it. The first thing you actually sacrifice, those of you who are really hardworking, unfortunately, your food, your sleep, and if at all you're exercising, that's the first thing you give up also. Make that your lifestyle. It is not your books which is going to give you life. It is this thing which is going to give you life. Spend I won't say half an hour, it's too much. Spend 10 minutes of meditation a day. Meditation is not about God at all. Meditation is just learning to be a watchman to yourselves. Just look at yourselves, look at your brain, look at the thoughts that come in. Watch your thoughts, do nothing else. Keep watching it till the day you reach a point where your thoughts never come at all. That is meditation. That is human capital. That is growing the prefrontal cortex. You build this human capital, all these qualities will manifest. All these qualities manifest. You will be extraordinarily successful people. I can give you a guarantee, as a man who has lived it, believed in it, experienced it, that you can never fail in life. But it depends on what you call success. If success is just going to be the scale of money that you're going to earn, maybe you will be partially successful. I haven't earned much money because I didn't want to earn money. It's a choice I made. I think having the ability to earn, I coach the large number of CEOs who would pay me a fortune to be their advisor in the company. You know the power I have over them? By not taking their money? Extraordinary. You take their money, they have power over me. No, I have power over all of these fellows and they don't even know it. And they've gone to the best business schools in the world. So who's bigger? Who's better? I think it's me. I believe it's me. That's a great advantage. I was asked to stand in a party for elections. I refused. That made me bigger. They don't know it, but they actually never agree to it. It makes you better. It's a choice we make. The choice is building people is a choice I have made. Building young people like you. Every one of you has to build this great country of ours. That's the social capital we create. But why? Why do we create all this? We create it for the inclusive society that we need. Remember the India that we have today. A nation where 1/3 of India is Naxalite infested. People who believe that the equity can be brought in with a gun. They believe I can take from Peter and give to Paul. But that's not going to work. Vivekananda said it is not by a revolution, but only by an evolution can a new India arise. And the evolution he meant was your inner evolution. And why do you have to be inclusive? How many of you saw the Oxfam report that Davos, WEF, they published? 80% of the world's wealth is controlled by 100 people. I know many of you want to be in that 100. But people like me worry about the fact that the remaining 7 billion people only are generating 20% of the world's wealth. Look at India today. The top 20% of India, which every one of you is being trained to become, generates and controls 85% of India's wealth, my friends. The bottom 20%, amongst whom I have lived nearly 3 decades, generates and control 1.5% of India's wealth. So Vivekananda said, it is not by pulling down the rich. I don't care whether Ambani builds a 26-story house or a 40-story house. And he doesn't even live in it, poor man. He'll get lost if he lives in it, I know that. But I care about the fact that millions of Indians don't even have a house to live in. So Vivekananda said, it is not by pulling down the rich, but by pushing up the poor can a new India arise. That is the India you got to create. So how can it happen? Only when you become the rich. And remember, becoming the rich is becoming a custodian of India's wealth to create more Indian rich people. That is the Indian you have to become. That is the new thinking that we have to generate. GDP growth is useless if it is not redistributed. Inclusive capitalism is humane capitalism, driven by 3 fundamental concepts. The first concept is redistribution. It is not about taking from you and giving to them. It's distributive justice. You're all privileged to be born where you are born. Your father can pay 14 lakh fees and send you here. There are hundreds of children as brilliant as you, by an accident of birth are born in my forest who can never see a school at all. John Rawls says, if you put the veil of ignorance and keep both of you on the other side, you are the same. Except for the fact that you're privileged to be born where you are, privileged to get the education that you got, privileged to be born to the parents you were born. An accident of birth, my friends, it is not your hard work. So those who are privileged live the Vedantic value, live the Rawlsian theory that he said, the theory of justice he spoke about. Those who are privileged use their privilege to take care of the lesser privileged. That is redistributive justice. You give it consciously, deliberately, intentionally to build a better world, not because the Naxalite compels you with a gun. Bring that inclusion into India. That is the redistribution that we need to bring. Inclusive capitalism is about social equity. That is why we have reservation. We have messed it up. That is different. We need to give a helping hand to a man who is socially denied that. Again, by not choice, by fate. Remember, the top 100 billionaires of India, there is not a single SC/ST. Why? Can't you ask these questions? I have lived amongst them. I have met some of the great, I'm right.